So, Benjamin Franklin's autobiography, which I had just finished reading, gave me a really great idea. Benjamin Franklin's quite like an inspirational character. I didn't expect this going in. Thought it was just going to be like another, I don't know, like political writing from like someone who's famous in politics and now think they should step into writing because they were in politics. It's like a natural progression. But this one was not like that. I actually like Benjamin Franklin. He's a very inspirational character. I want to talk more about this book in another video, but I want to deal with one of the ideas that I got from Benjamin Franklin, which has to do with like how to live your life. So he had very humble beginnings. I don't think he came from an ultra poor family. I think he came from a family of like artisans. And he developed these like principles for his life that he would go on to use to develop who he was as a person. And he had a very interesting way of going about it. So I want to explain the principles first. So let me take this off because I will not be able to open the book properly. The principles are like based off this idea that there are virtues and virtues aren't secure until the temptation to do the opposite of the principle or the virtue is gone. Which I thought was, okay, that's a really interesting idea, right? You don't really, like, it's very easy to say, I have virtue X, Y, and Z. But what Benjamin Franklin said was that if, let's say, you like to think that you eat healthy, as long as you have the urge to eat junk food, then the virtue of eating healthy is still present, or it's not obtained, it's not secure. And I thought that was a really great way of going about it. So the way he does it is, he has these 13 principles, and he does one principle a week. And he only measures when he makes mistakes. I'll show you a little graph that he uses. He basically, if he makes a mistake, he'll measure it so that he can see how often he messes up. Usually when I've done things, it's, did I do it today, yes or no? Like, did I succeed today, yes or no? But he does the opposite of what I would usually do, which is why I also thought it was interesting. But he'll do 1 week, he'll do one principle, and he'll go through the next week, the next principle, so on and so forth. He'll do these in cycles throughout his life. He never stopped doing it. He did it throughout his whole entire life. And he said he would usually get about 4 cycles in every year. So now that you understand how to actually do this set of principles, or like this cyclic little activity that Benjamin Franklin does, I want to go through the actual principles that I think are really, really cool. So the first one is temperance, and it's eat not to dullness or drink not to elevation. So for some people, that might actually be a big one. Some people might actually find they get bored and they eat stuff. For me personally, I don't find I eat when I'm bored. I eat when I'm tired. And so for me, it was more like I mixed it up a little bit, and I said like, don't eat simple sugars and don't eat when you're tired. And I don't drink much anyways, so that wasn't really much of a thing for me. But yeah, that's how I did principle number 1. And I'm going to do the same thing that Franklin did, where I'll have a week where I focus just on that. Principle number 2 is silence. It's speak not, but what may benefit others or yourself. Avoid trifling conversations. And basically what he means by this is, he explains it a lot in the autobiography, is if you're going to say something, the something which you have to say better benefit yourself or others. If it doesn't, don't say it. And he especially likes to, when he says trifling conversations, what he really means is he doesn't want you to engage in conversations where you deliberately contradict another person, or you have an argument with another person where, like, basically there's no utility in the argument. He's very like Dale Carnegie-like. In fact, I would actually argue Dale Carnegie is more like Franklin, since Franklin came before him, right? So that was number 2. Number 3 is order. Let all your things have their places. Let each part of your business have its time. So this is something that I thought was interesting, because since I'm a bit of a generalist, I've always made my schedules be around doing generalized things. But what Franklin does in his approach to order is to focus on things in specific, not to do everything at once, but to, like let each part of your business have its time. If, let's say you're doing stocks, like I do stocks, okay? Rather than doing stocks on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Franklin would probably say, okay, do stocks on Monday and Tuesday, and then do the rest of your things on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, okay? Each part of your business has its time. It's more linear than what I'm used to. I also like the idea of letting things have its place, but Franklin said he struggled with that, especially, he said, as he got older, things became more difficult to manage. because when he got older, he also got wealthier, and so there was more things. And I feel like, yeah, that's a bit of a truism there. When you get older and you get more wealth, it's going to be harder to maintain order. But the second part of that, let each part of your business have its time, I really like that one. The fourth one is resolution. So it's like resolve to perform what you ought, perform without fail what you resolve. Basically, like if you want to go and do something, you said you're going to go and do something, go out and do it. That's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think you need to think too hard about that one. Just if you say you're going to go do something, go do it. That's a simple one. This one I like, number 5, was frugality. Make no expense, but to do good to others or yourself. What Franklin had in mind with frugality was like, so if you're going to spend money, it better be on investments. He also said books. He liked to buy books. It better be on books. Don't go and waste money on like entertainment or anything of that sort. Or if you're going to spend money, then spend it on someone else. Franklin has this very good quote where he said, like, in order to basically be a moral or good person, you have to have wealth, because it is very difficult to be a moral person when you're impoverished. And that's actually, I think there's a little bit of truth to that, and I would agree with him on that it's easier to be a good person when you're wealthier. And so when he says frugality, he means, in that sense, you should be giving money to others. You should be doing good things for society with your money. And number 6 is industry. Lose no time. Be always employed in something useful. Cut off all unnecessary actions. To add on to that, Franklin has this idea that like even when you take time off, like when he says industry, he doesn't mean work all the time. He even says, for example, when you take time off to do relax, unplug, maybe explore some new things in the world, he doesn't mean be idle. I feel like a lot of people have this idea that when you take time off from doing something, it means go and do nothing, like just sit on the couch all day. Franklin's idea would be like, for example, if he's taking time away from politics, he'll go and enjoy some things in science, right? He did some science. If he's not doing science, then he'll go and write. If he's not writing, then he'll go and read. If he's not reading, then he'll go and have discussions about society with his learned friends, his more educated friends. That's what he means. He doesn't like the idea of just being idle in general, which I would agree with. I think the times where I'm most unhappy are when I'm idle. The times where I'm most happy is when I'm not idle. So I agree with that one. Number 7 is sincerity. It's use no hurtful deceit. Think innocently and justly, and if you speak, speak accordingly. So basically, yeah, that's kind of self-evident, self-explanatory. Don't lie. Or if you're going to lie, make sure it's not going to hurt anybody. That's more of like a standard for yourself, and if you do that for yourself, then the rest of society will benefit. But again, that one's a bit more self-explanatory. Number 8 is justice. Wrong none by doing injuries or omitting the benefits that are your duty. This one, surprisingly, was a bit like, it sounds to me like deontology. Fulfill your duties. Don't omit benefits to others. And I like that one. I feel like there's a lot of people who will, if they're going to if they're going to receive benefits and they know that some of those benefits are owed to others, they'll try and embezzle those benefits. I'm familiar with like industries where this happens. If you think about like deals that don't involve contracts, there are probably a lot of people who are willing to take benefits that are owed to you, and if you have no way of checking that they're owed to you, they'll just embezzle those benefits. Franklin's not like that, which I support. I think it's a great idea. Then again, I do agree with also Spinoza that like a happy life isn't one of luxury, it's one of industry where you're like working, you have a skill or a craft that you hone in on, and you aren't surrounded by exorbitant amounts of wealth. I tend to agree with Spinoza on that, so I also therefore agree with Franklin that you should share the benefits that are owed. Number 9 is moderation. Avoid extremes. Forbear resenting injuries so much as you think they deserve. Yeah, this one is just like centrism, basically. It's the golden mean. Nothing new there. Do things in moderation. Don't do things in extremes. That one's also self-explanatory. Then number 10 is cleanliness. I don't need to explain cleanliness. It literally just means be clean of clothing and your environment. Like clean your house, clean your clothes. It's literally the Jordan Peterson meme. So that's self-explanatory. And then the last one is, then there's one that's tranquility. Number 11 is tranquility. Be not disturbed at trifles or accidents common or unavoidable. I like tranquility. This is actually a good one as well. The idea that you shouldn't get angry at things that were going to go wrong. Like, let's say you invest in, going back to the example of the stock market, if you go invest in the stock market, don't get angry when it crashes. That's part of investing in the stock market. You should be tranquil about this. It's expected. If you have a friendship, when you create a friendship, don't get angry when you have a inconvenience. When you basically when you take on an inconvenience because of your friend's behavior, you shouldn't be angry about that. That is expected in friendships. If there's unexpected work that shows up at your place of employment, that's expected. These things are expected in life, and so because they're expected, you should not get angry, you should remain tranquil, which is a very solid point. Number 12 is chastity. It's literally, he's basically, chastity is like don't use sex for debauched purposes, like don't do debauchery. He's just against it in general. That's also self-explanatory. And then number 13 is funny. It's humility, which is imitate Jesus and Socrates. And that's another good one as well. You don't want to come off as like too all-knowing, too morally righteous. You want to come up as like inquisitive, open-minded, always perpetually in the state of learning. That's a good one. So these are the principles that Benjamin Franklin lived his life by. And I thought they were really great and worth sharing, independent of like reviewing the book itself. There's so much in here that, like, especially if you're a reader, you'll love Benjamin Franklin's autobiography. Not only does he write well, but his life journey is very intriguing. I am reading the Benjamin Franklin, Walter Isaacson's biography, and he has some good commentaries on this book as well. But yeah, those are the principles, and that's the chart. I feel like if you want, you can adopt that as well. I'm personally doing it. I've already started. I've been doing it for 2 weeks now, and I've been enjoying it. There have been times where I've messed up, like there was one time where I went out to a friend's house and I was tired and I ate snacks at his house. I ate like 2 or 3 chocolates. Now, it's not a big break, it's not a big deal breaker, but it does violate principle number 1 for me, so I would have to track the error, right? And I feel like that encourages the honesty. When you're tracking errors, it's a bit more of an honest thing. Whereas like if you're only tracking your success, when there's no entries for your success, you can just kind of be like, oh, well, it's like it's under the carpet, right? Whereas if you're tracking your errors, then your success is under the carpet and only your mistakes are being shown. It's a very interesting way of going about it. That being said, let me know what you think. If you have principles that you do in your life as well that are really interesting, I would love to hear them. I absolutely love learning about like people in society who do these really cool like self-improvement routines and like stuff like that. It's very fun to learn about and maybe implement myself. So I would love to hear if you have some of your own that you've read or that you've developed in the comment section. I would definitely read them. With that being said, okay, hadi bye bye.